The lawyer representing Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge will today cross-examine Andiswa Mengo, who's accusing the top judge of sexual harassment. The claims are being probed by the Judicial Conduct Tribunal in Johannesburg. Mengo has accused Mbenenge of making the advances in the form of in-person interactions and electronic communication. Watching developments for us is SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga, who joins us now live from Rosebank. And my goodness, Kenny, yesterday we heard jaw-dropping, sometimes very salacious details about those electronic exchanges between the pair.
Indeed. Good morning to you, Ayanda, and to the viewers at home. The judge's secretary, that is Andiswa Mengo's version of events in the first ever sexual harassment probe, will continue to be tested before the Judicial Conduct Tribunal this morning when it begins at 9:30 a.m. Mengo accuses Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge of sexual harassment between the period of June 2021 to November 2022 in the form of in-person and electronic communication. So what you've seen since yesterday was that the cross-examination of the witness, and of course the intention of cross-examination is to test your version of events and to look for those loopholes. We've seen in the first week of this tribunal, when she was being led by State Advocate Salome Skeepers, that they tried as best as they could to close those gaps and close those loopholes in the exchanges between the pair. But what you have seen yesterday is that the credibility of Mengo is being put to test before the tribunal, with the counsel for Judge President Mbenenge focusing on her alleged conduct. Remember, Ayanda, I did caution last week that in cases such as this, where the conduct of a victim may be far removed or may be perceived to be far removed from what a victim should be conducting herself as, you can expect that there will be a shift in the burdening of the questions from the alleged perpetrator to the victim. And that's what you're seeing here, where the counsel for Judge President Selby Mbenenge is questioning her on the nature of the complaint. We've seen them zoom into the complaint as to why certain events that may have portrayed her as a victim, or rather him as a bad guy, were concealed in order to achieve this purpose. So he's stating that the interactions where it could be perceived that she was an equal partner were not included in the complaint. They were deliberately omitted in order to paint him as the bad guy. And then, of course, they look at the perceived conduct of Mengo. She has been facing some tough questions about some answers that she has given in those exchanges. Of course, she has explained in detail in the evidence in chief why she felt compelled to respond to those particular tests in a particular manner, speaking of the power imbalance between the pair. Remember, the context is that she is a junior legal professional in the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court, and then, of course, this is a senior judge in that particular division, but of course a senior judge in the judiciary as a whole. So she's explained why she's compelled to respond, but before this cross-examination, she has seemingly adopted a strategy of giving very short answers that don't give any detail. And that, of course, may not serve in her favor, because it may appear to be concessions before the tribunal instead of explaining why the conduct was the way it was, which speaks to the nuances of sexual harassment.
In fact, we saw in some instances, Canny, Mengo struggling to maintain her composure. I remember it being mentioned earlier that this is an 8-day process. You'll correct me if I'm wrong about that. If it is, what do we anticipate to take place over the next week or so?
Well, Ayanda, it's actually set aside for 10 days. That is 2 weeks. 1 week would have been for the evidence in chief, and of course that fell over into the second week. And then, of course, until Friday, that is the time allocated to the Judge President's counsel to cross-examine the witness. But that obviously doesn't end there, as we expect that further witnesses will be called. And we also expect that Judge President Mbenenge should give his version of events regarding the very serious offences that he faces and the kind of sanction that would follow if he were found to be guilty. And then, of course, the tribunal will still have to assess the complaint and come up with a report that they will serve on the JSC. Then the JSC, of course, will consider it and give that final sanction. So it's still quite a long road. This 2 weeks was set aside for the testimony of Andiswa Mengo, as well as her cross-examination, which will take place at 9:30 a.m. And we expect the questioning to continue from Advocate Moses Kakane SC. He's already laid the foundation for the position that they're going to take by highlighting the seriousness of sexual harassment and the kind of consequences that should follow if a false claim is to be made, and then of course attacking the credibility of the witness by examining her complaint and the kind of information that was omitted, he contends, from that complaint, and then of course assessing the alleged conduct that society may perceive to be appropriate for a victim in cases of this nature, arguing that she was an equal participant. But I'm not sure if that can be the conclusion that is reached, because in order to assess sexual harassment or any forms of violence, rather, in gender-based violence, the power dynamics or power imbalance, rather, is critical to viewing the complaint and understanding whether if she was dealing with a peer, if this would have been the same conduct, or if she's dealing with someone who carries a certain amount of power in society and she is a junior legal professional, what would trigger her to respond in the manner that she responded.